In a quiet, humble home where warmth and simple joys filled the air, a family prepared for a special day. The mother, skilled and gentle, busied herself in the kitchen and around the house, teaching her child the art of making traditional cakes wrapped with delicate leaves. Every movement was intentional and precise in this age-old craft, which carried the legacy of generations. The atmosphere was alive with the fragrant smell of the mixture of flour and savory fillings, melding into something delectable. The child watched intently, eager to learn, marveling at the process, how the leaves were carefully selected, cleaned, and prepared to become wrappers for the cakes. The mother patiently demonstrated how to knead the dough with tender hands, using fat to coat the cakes and showing the proper way to fold and roll them, ensuring the perfect shape wrapped securely. The scene was pure harmony between mother and child, an exchange of love and tradition. Outside, the rain fell heavily, adding the gentle rhythm of nature's song to the quiet home. The child expressed concern for their father, who had to go to work in the rain, wondering if he got wet, worried for his well-being. Despite the rain's persistence, the family found solace in their shared tasks, intertwined with laughter and warmth. As the cakes took shape, the child's curiosity blossomed, asking about the salty taste and the purpose of the cakes. The mother explained they made these cakes for selling at the market, highlighting the blend of livelihood and love wrapped into those little parcels. Together, the child and mother planned to make many to sell, a task both difficult and joyful. Every piece of cake was a testament to their bond and customs lovingly passed down. Grandmother's presence added another layer of familial comfort as the child asked for containers to store the cakes ready for their journey to the market stalls. The work was tiring but fulfilling, each leaf folded with care, the cakes meticulously formed, promising joy for those who would taste them. The home was a refuge, a place where love was kneaded into dough, where tradition was kept alive with every wrapped cake, a melody of hands and hearts working as one. The child learned not only the technical skills of folding and wrapping, but also the patience and tenderness that the craft required. Each step was a lesson in precision and care, and the mother's gentle corrections guided the child's eager hands. They talked in whispers of the past, of family gatherings and celebrations filled with these beloved cakes that had become more than just food. They were symbols of connection through generations. In the fading daylight, as the kitchen filled with the soft glow of lamps, the mother and child continued their work, surrounded by the sounds and smells of home. The rain outside softened, reflecting a moment of peace inside. They wrapped the last of the cakes, prepared the containers, and planned the trip to the market where the cakes would find new hands to hold them. A simple act became a tradition renewed, a story of love baked into every bite, and a memory building quietly in the heart of a child who was becoming a keeper of family heritage. Vietnamese traditional narratives often emphasize family bonds, the importance of heritage, and community roles, all of which are evident in the making of cakes in Part 1. The mother-child interaction reflects not only culinary knowledge, but also cultural transmission, patience, and care. The mention of market selling highlights local economic practices intertwined with idyllic domestic scenes. The art of making cakes wrapped in leaves is symbolic of Vietnamese culinary tradition, where food is not only nourishment, but also a means of preserving culture and identity. The leaves used for wrapping cakes often come from specific trees, each adding flavor and connection to nature. This intimates a close relationship between humans and their environment, a common theme in Vietnamese lore and daily life. In deep analysis, the story settings also speak about resilience and warmth amidst hardship, such as a rainy day when the father braves weather challenges to provide for the family. Such elements portray the values of perseverance, responsibility, and familial support, crucial threads in many Vietnamese stories. The detailed process of cake making is a metaphor for life's lessons: diligence, precision, patience, and love. These qualities, nurtured by family elders, ensure cultural continuity and communal harmony. The child learning from the mother encapsulates a rite of passage into adulthood and cultural belonging. Given this background, Part 2 can extend deeply into the family dynamics, exploring the father's role, the community context of the market, and symbolic meanings behind the cakes and the ritual of making and selling them. The unfolding of the story should reflect Vietnamese storytelling art, blending daily life, familial affection, cultural values, and local socio-economic realities into a rich narrative. Now, I will proceed to generate Part 2 of the story in a long, detailed, narrative style in English, exploring these dimensions extensively. The quiet warmth of the home extended beyond the kitchen and into the very fabric of daily life, enveloping each person in a cocoon of love and tradition. The cakes that the mother and child created together carried more than just ingredients. They carried the essence of continuity, the heartbeat of a family steeped in rich customs passed down through generations. As the mother guided her child's eager hands, the process took on a deeper significance. These cakes were a bridge between past and present, an edible form of heritage that affirmed identity and fostered belonging. The father's presence, though absent in the morning's preparations due to rain and work, was felt deeply within the home. He was the pillar of the family, quietly enduring the challenges of his laborious work to provide for those he loved. The child's worry for him in the rain spoke volumes about the close bonds that connected them. This concern was not merely about the physical discomfort of wet clothes, but about the larger truth of sacrifice and steadfastness that the father embodied every day. His sacrifices allowed the family to gather around a table of warmth despite the chill outside, making each cake and every folded leaf a symbol of resilience against the hardships of life. The anticipation of selling the cakes at the market was a window into the life of the broader community around them. The market was more than a place of commerce. It was a daily gathering of people who shared stories, laughter, and the sweet taste of connection through food. These cakes, lovingly crafted and wrapped, would soon travel beyond the confines of the home to become part of the collective memory of neighbors and friends. Each cake sold was a thread weaving the family into the community, a reaffirmation of shared culture and mutual reliance. The art of wrapping cakes in leaves was itself a ritual drenched in cultural significance. These were not just ordinary leaves, but carefully chosen ones, harvested with knowledge of their texture and flavor, their essence infusing the cakes with a subtle aroma. The leaf wrappers were a natural gift, a reminder of the intimate relationship between the people and their environment, one of respect, understanding, and harmonious coexistence. As the child learned the delicate folds and precise cuts required to wrap the cakes perfectly, they were also learning an unspoken lesson about mindfulness and reverence for nature's gifts. The scents that filled the small kitchen told stories as potent as any spoken word. The mingling aroma of flour, savory fillings, and the earthy perfume of leaves was a sensory map leading back to ancestors who had performed the same rituals under the glow of oil lamps and the cautious watch of family elders. These cakes were not only sustenance for the body, but nourishment for the spirit, connecting the present with the past through acts of patient craftsmanship. The meticulous preparation, the kneading, folding, and wrapping reflected virtues cherished in Vietnamese culture: diligence, patience, respect, and love. These virtues were taught not through lectures, but by example, through the intimate act of shared daily work. The child's hands, awkward at first, slowly grew confident under the tender supervision of the mother, and with each successful fold, a sense of pride and belonging took root. This was education in its most profound form, embedding identity within the practical rhythms of life. Outside, the weather mirrored the enduring spirit within. The heavy rain, which had initially brought worry, became a quiet backdrop to the day's meaningful labor. It was a reminder of the challenges life presented, persistent and unyielding, yet met with resilience and unity. The father's journey through the storm to provide for the family was emblematic of this spirit, a testament to the quiet heroism embedded in everyday life. As the day moved toward dusk, the household prepared not only for the coming evening, but for the broader journey of those cakes and the family story. The market would be alive with voices calling out prices, friendly exchanges, and the mingling scents of countless homemade delicacies. Among them, the cakes wrapped in those special leaves would stand as a symbol of a family's love, labor, and cultural richness. The child's excitement about helping to sell the cakes was a step toward joining the wider community, embracing the social fabric that defined their world. Beyond the immediate tasks, the narrative hinted at deeper themes intrinsic to Vietnamese family life. The intergenerational bonds seen in the presence of the grandmother, the care for the father, and the mother's role as teacher and nurturer spoke to a collective sense of responsibility and solidarity. Elders were honored not just for their wisdom, but for their role in shaping identity and sustaining tradition. The child's role as learner and helper was pivotal in ensuring life's continuity, a living testament to the family's enduring legacy. The market was also a place where stories were exchanged, where neighbors became friends, and where life's joys and sorrows were shared. It was a communal hearth, a gathering place where the cakes would be more than just food. They would be tokens of friendship, generosity, and cultural pride. Selling the cakes was thus not merely an economic act, but a social ritual, reinforcing the ties that bound individuals into a supportive community. This moment in daily life encapsulated a mosaic of cultural values: the pride in craftsmanship, the importance of family bonds, the respect for elders and nature, and the joy in community connection. Each folded cake symbolized more than its ingredients. It embodied the patience, care, and love of a family whose story was quietly woven into the larger tapestry of Vietnamese tradition. In embracing these roles and rituals, the child was stepping into a lineage that reached far beyond the kitchen walls. They were coming into their identity as a bearer of stories and customs, as a participant in the enduring ritual of life that defines human connection. The cakes, wrapped in leaves and stories, were a delicious expression of belonging and continuity, a gift from past to present and into an unfolding future. As night approached, the family gathered once more, their hearts full with the day's labors and their spirits buoyed by the simple but profound acts of care and tradition. The rain had ceased, leaving the world feeling refreshed and new. Within the home, the cakes rested in their containers, ready to travel into the hands of others who would taste the love and heritage baked into every bite. The child, tired but fulfilled, understood in that moment the silent power in the passing on of these traditions, a power that would carry them forward, just as it had countless generations before. Thus, the story of the cakes was not merely a tale of food preparation, but a vivid narrative of life itself, grounded in cultural roots and nurtured by family love. It was a story of resilience, identity, and belonging, woven into the everyday acts that make a house, a home, and a family a living legacy. The narrative will explore the intricate process of making ban, la in a traditional village, highlighting the careful selection of ingredients, the labor-intensive preparation, and the symbolism embedded in every step. It will also delve into the ways these cakes tie the family, community, and cultural identity together, echoing the intimate relationship between people and their environment. The story will analyze the role of women as preservers of tradition, the significance of markets as community hubs, and the reciprocal respect between humans and nature exemplified in the use of natural leaf wrappers. It will reflect on how these cakes, crafted with diligence and love, embody the resilience and warmth of rural Vietnamese life, and how the younger generation learns not only techniques, but profound values from elders. The detailed craft of ban la, from rice soaking, grinding, dough preparation, to wrapping and steaming, will be narrated showing the patience and precision required, with deep cultural reflections on why each step matters beyond its culinary function. The economic and social implications of such cottage industries will also be interwoven to show how tradition sustains livelihoods while nurturing communal bonds. Now, I will compose the full narrative for Part 3 with approximately 3,500 words in English, keeping the story rich, immersive, and insightful. The craft of making ban la, those delicate cakes wrapped in fragrant leaves, unfolds as a deeply intricate ritual woven into the daily life and culture of a Vietnamese village. This tradition, honed over centuries, is emblematic of the enduring harmony between people, nature, and their shared heritage. The story moves beyond mere food preparation to reflect a timeless relationship, a bond between generations, the land, and community. In the village, the process begins long before dawn. The quiet streets still glisten with the remnants of night's rain, the air cool and filled with anticipation. Early risers are already stirring, their movements purposeful and measured, for making ban la is no ordinary task. It is the heart of the village's rhythm and reason. Women, often accompanied by younger members of their families, gather near modest homes or communal spaces, ready to transform humble ingredients into treasures of flavor and cultural significance. At the core of ban la is the rice, the soul of the dish, soaked in cool water for hours to soften its grains. This careful soaking, often lasting 5 hours or more, is an act of patience and respect, allowing the rice to absorb life-giving water and swell gently, ready to be ground. Traditionally, this grinding was done on stone mills, the coarse noise a steady companion to the women's labor, echoing the sounds of their ancestors. Today, motorized grinders hum softly, lessening the physical burden, but preserving the connection to centuries-old craft. The ground rice transforms into a delicate batter, fine-tuned by skilled hands to the perfect consistency, smooth and velvety, yet thick enough to hold its shape when cooked. This batter embodies not just sustenance, but the very essence of the earth's gift, connecting those who prepare it to the fertile fields and patient seasons that nurture the grain. As the batter rests, the preparation of the filling begins. A savory melange of fresh scallions, finely chopped pork belly, wood ear mushrooms, fragrant black pepper, and melting bits of pork fat. Each ingredient is hand-selected, reflecting the intimate knowledge villagers hold of their surroundings and the seasons. The filling is a robust counterpart to the delicate rice batter, balancing flavors and textures, sweet and savory, soft and crunchy, meant to surprise and delight the palate. Choosing the leaves for wrapping is a sacred step. In the village of Quyen Vien, for example, the leaves of the dong tree are prized above all. Their broad green surfaces are thick yet supple, offering the right strength so the cakes hold together without tearing during steaming. The leaves themselves impart a subtle aroma and a signature jade green hue to the steamed cakes, marking them unmistakably as a product of this village's fertile land and skilled hands. The preparation of these leaves involves washing, drying, and sometimes blanching to soften their fibers, preparing them for their crucial role. With the batter, filling, and leaves ready, the artisans begin the assembly, an intricate dance of dexterity and care. Each cake requires just the right amount of batter spread on the leaf, a generous but measured spoonful of filling carefully placed at its center, then wrapped tightly but tenderly, shaped into neat parcels that embody balance and precision. This act of wrapping is a skill passed down through generations. It demands patience, steady hands, and a respect for the tactile rhythm of traditional craftsmanship. Once wrapped, the cakes are arranged thoughtfully in traditional steamers, where they will cook gently over a wood fire or modern stove, absorbing the rising, warm, moist air that transforms the raw ingredients into a unified, fragrant whole. The steaming process, lasting about 70 minutes, is watched with reverence. Too short a time and the cake would be underdone and tough. Too long and it would lose its delicate texture and luscious flavor. This timing reflects the intuitive knowledge honed through years of experience. Outside the bustling kitchen, the village awakens fully, the markets coming to life as vendors arrange their goods, neighbors greet each other, and the scent of freshly cooked ban la wafts through the air, drawing eager customers like a familiar, irresistible call. These markets are vibrant gatherings where commerce blends seamlessly with community bonding, where laughter and stories trade hands as naturally as money and produce. The cakes will soon travel from the hands of their makers to the hands of those who will consume them. Farmers, artisans, children on their way to school, elders gathering leisurely in the afternoons. Each ban la carries with it the warmth of the village hearth, the labor of loving hands, and the essence of long-forgotten customs that have survived modernization's relentless pace by clinging to the values of family, care, and authenticity. Behind the culinary scene lies a powerful social fabric. The craft of ban la sustains incomes for many families, offering economic resilience through artisanal food production that nurtures the local economy and preserves cultural identity. Women play a central role, not only as makers but as custodians of heritage, passing knowledge to their children, mentoring younger members, and ensuring the community's traditions live on vibrantly in the face of change. The family at the heart of this story embodies all these themes. Their hands, young and old, work together to knead the dough, blend the filling, wash leaves, and wrap the cakes with deft gestures that speak of patience and practiced skill. The child's eager involvement is not just about learning a recipe, but stepping into a living tradition where food is intertwined with meaning, identity, family loyalty, respect for nature, and communal harmony. As the cakes steam and the rain softens, the father's story surfaces as a reminder of the delicate balance between toil and reward. His daily journey through rain or shine to provide for his family echoes the cake's own journey, from fields through hands to market stalls. The father represents steadfastness. His sacrifices sustain not just material needs, but the emotional and cultural continuity that keep the family rooted and whole. The grandmother's wisdom adds depth and warmth to the narrative. Elderly yet resolute, she reflects the continuity that links generations, bridging past memories with present realities and future hopes. Her presence in the kitchen and at the family table offers a living archive of stories and practices that envelop the younger ones in a sense of belonging and pride. This intergenerational exchange is a microcosm of Vietnamese village life. It highlights how cultural heritage is not a static relic, but a dynamic practice lived daily in the fold of leaves, the mix of batter and filling, the rhythm of market calls, and the shared meals that follow hard work and collective celebration. The cakes themselves are metaphors, simple yet profound, embodying the virtues of patience, care, and attentiveness. Each fold and seal of the leaf is a small act of creation, a tangible reminder of the sacredness of ordinary life. The process teaches values that transcend culinary skill, respect for resources, harmony with nature, and the power of shared effort. As the story unfolds, the cakes transition from raw ingredients to symbols of cultural continuity, economic sustenance, and familial love. The family story, embedded in this quiet ritual, sings the praises of persistence amidst hardship, community amidst change, and tradition amidst modernity. The kitchen and market scenes reveal broader truths about rural Vietnamese life, the beauty of simple routines, the interplay of individual and collective identity, and the central role of food as cultural expression. Here, craftsmanship meets livelihood, history meets present, and every cake is a story waiting to be told. Through the lens of Bon La, the narrative immerses readers in a world where flavor and form, nature and nurture, loss and renewal coalesce. The craft of Bon La making is a living exemplar of cultural heritage, resilient, adaptive, and deeply human. The child, having learned to fold leaves with care, to mix filling with patience, and to wait through long, steaming hours, is no longer just a learner, but a bearer of legacy. The rituals embedded in these cakes will accompany their steps forward, linking them forever to the land, family, and community that shaped them. Nakuni in that village kitchen, under the watchful eyes of elders and the embrace of tradition, Bon La is more than a dish. It is a statement of identity, a thread in the community's fabric, and a promise that the stories, tastes, and values of generations will endure, wrapped in fragrant leaves, cooked with love, and shared with joy. Thus, the art of Bon La making stands as a testament to Vietnam's rich cultural tapestry, a vivid narrative of resilience, belonging, and the eternal bonds that unite people to their past, their environment, and most deeply to each other. The dawn's soft light filtered through the kitchen window, illuminating the humble yet orderly space where the family gathered to bring the tradition of Bon La to life once again. This was not merely the act of cooking, but a deeply revered ritual steeped in generations of practice, knowledge, and heartfelt human connection. Each step was deliberate, each gesture carrying with it the resonance of ancestral wisdom and communal heritage. The first stage of the Bon La craft was grounded in the careful preparation of rice, the lifeblood of every cake. The rice, carefully selected for its texture and purity, was soaked overnight in clean, cool water. This soaking, a process executed with patience and precision, allowed the grains to soften and absorb moisture gradually. The soaking represented more than just a culinary necessity. It was a symbolic act acknowledging the transformative power of time and the nurturing qualities of water, essential elements that connected the people to the earth and the cycles of nature. Once adequately softened, the rice was ground into a fine batter. Traditionally, this grinding was a communal affair, sometimes carried out with stone mills turned by human hands, or the rhythmic grind of manual grinders set under the watchful eyes of elders. The grinding process demanded not only physical effort but also an understanding of texture and consistency. The perfect batter needed to be silky smooth, while maintaining the necessary thickness to hold shape during cooking. Experienced hands would judge the batter by touch and sight, a skill passed from mother to child, from grandmother to granddaughter. While the batter rested to settle into the right consistency, attention turned to the filling, a cornerstone of balance and flavor, combining elements that provided savory richness and textural contrast. The filling was typically a blend of minced pork belly, wood ear mushrooms, fresh scallions, and seasonings like salt, black pepper, and occasionally delicate hints of garlic. The ingredients were finely chopped, mixed and marinated thoughtfully. The fresh pork offered succulence and a hint of sweetness, while the mushrooms added an earthiness and slight chewiness, creating a symphony of sensations that would awaken the palate. The process of choosing leaves was crucial and infused with deep respect for nature's gifts. Leaves must be fresh, pliable, and aromatic, the dong leaf from the north-central regions being particularly prized for bain de thé, while banana leaves or other broadleaf varieties were preferred in other areas. The selection was ritualistic, with villagers often harvesting leaves early in the morning when their texture was at its peak. They were carefully washed, dried with cloths, and sometimes blanched briefly to increase flexibility and ensure they didn't tear during wrapping. With all essential components prepared, the art of assembling bain la began. This was the most intimate and delicate phase, requiring concentration, skill, and patience. A leaf was laid flat and gently oiled to prevent sticking. A portion of rice batter was spooned evenly across the leaf surface and spread thinly. A dollop of savory filling was placed in the center, ensuring an ideal balance of flavors per bite. The baker then folded the leaf carefully, sealing the cake into a compact, elongated parcel. The ends of the leaf were folded crisply, trimmed, and sometimes tied tightly with thin strips from bamboo or natural fibers to secure the parcel for steaming. This act of wrapping was more than functional. It was an expression of care and artistry. A perfectly wrapped bain la symbolized harmony, balance, and the protector's role of sheltering and preserving life's goodness. Families taught younger members how to wrap properly, holding the folds just so, folding edges uniformly, and ensuring no gaps would allow filling to escape or water to seep inside. Often, multiple generations would sit side by side, guiding the hands of the novice, each cake a lesson in tradition and continuity. Steamers were then prepared, giant baskets woven from bamboo or large metal pots adapted for the task. The cakes were placed carefully inside, leaving space to allow steam to circulate evenly. Steaming was a sacred waiting period, the moment where raw ingredients met transformation. The warmth of the steam cooked the batter into a tender, smooth cake that held the filling in its embrace. Timing was crucial, around 20 to 40 minutes depending on the cake size and amount. Too short and the cake remained doughy. Too long and it became tough and flavorless. Women would intuitively judge this moment by the aroma wafting from the steaming cakes and the visual cues, such as the color change of the leaves and the gleam of the dough. For many villagers, seeing the cakes rise and take shape in the steam was symbolic of renewal and sustenance, a promise from land to table. The communal kitchen hummed with anticipation and soft chatter, the rhythmic clatter of utensils underscoring the quiet miracle of transformation. Once steamed, cakes were gently removed and allowed to cool slightly. The leaves imparted subtle vegetal fragrances and a slightly sweet undertone, reinforcing the bond between the food and the natural world. The cool cakes were often presented as offerings during festivals or family gatherings, their creation reflecting a communal spirit elevated above the mundane. From the kitchen to the market, these cakes carried the heartbeats of many hands and the hopes of a shared culture. Beyond the kitchen walls, Ban La played a profound role in social life. Market days were scenes of vibrant exchange, not only of goods, but of stories, smiles, and cultural reaffirmations. Locals and visitors alike eagerly sought Ban La as much for the taste as the connection it represented. Vendors proudly displayed neat stacks of the shiny wrapped parcels, the leaf wrappings gleaming green and earthy under the sun, the scent reaching out like a lure. Women vendors, often the makers themselves, engaged in animated conversations with customers, explaining the care behind each cake, the tradition it embodied, and the love that was kneaded into every batch. For those who purchased Ban La, eating it was an oral and gustatory experience, threaded with memory, identity, and belonging. The cakes were often paired with homemade chili sauce or fish sauce, elevating the delicate flavors with piquant accents that spoke of Vietnam's rich culinary palate. Within families, Ban La was an emblem of unity. During holidays, the Lunar New Year, the Mid-Autumn Festival, or ancestral worship days, the making and sharing of these cakes brought members together, reconnecting them to roots and each other. Youngsters watched elders fold with reverence, recognizing in these actions a sacred continuity. The cakes were not just food, they were heritage wrapped in leaves, stories folded into dough. The tradition of Ban La making also reinforced ecological wisdom. The use of natural materials, from rice to leaves, illustrated a sustainable approach to food production and consumption. No plastic, no waste. Everything was biodegradable, returning to the earth to nourish new crops. Such practices embodied respect for the environment, a principle deeply ingrained in Vietnamese rural life and philosophy. Economically, Ban La making supported cottage industries that upheld local livelihoods. Many families relied on the sale of these cakes to supplement income, making the craft an intersection of culture and survival. This dual role meant the craft had to adapt, balancing traditional handwork with demands of modern markets. Yet many insisted on preserving the authenticity of recipes and wrapping techniques, resisting industrial shortcuts that could erode cultural identity. Within this delicate ecosystem of tradition, family, and economy, the child in the story found their place growing deeper with each fold, each package, each shared meal. The hands that once fumbled now wrapped with confidence, the eyes that once watched now saw the bigger picture. That Ban La was a testament to resilience, careful stewardship, and love across generations. The father's hard work, the mother's nurturing patience, and the grandmother's enduring wisdom all converged in this daily ritual. The cakes symbolized their collective journey of sacrifice, of care, of hope that their culture's intangible treasures would survive future storms of change. The kitchen, the market, the family table, all were stages where this narrative played out in every fold, every bite, every shared smile. Thus, in the making of Ban La, ordinary moments became extraordinary. A humble cake bore witness to the richness of Vietnamese cultural heritage, the power of tradition to bind and uplift, and the enduring vitality of family and community. The story was not merely about food, but about life itself, sustained, celebrated, and passed on through time with gentle hands and open hearts. The tradition continues, not simply as a culinary art, but as a vibrant, living narrative that invites each generation to belong, to remember, and to create anew. The cakes wrapped in leaves are stories ready to be told, love ready to be shared, and history ready to be savored. The story continues deeply into the traditional Vietnamese Ban La making ritual, exploring every intricate step, cultural nuance, and familial meaning embedded within this shared craft. At dawn, the village kitchen awakens with a quiet solemnity. The family begins with the foundation of the Ban La, the rice. Soaked overnight in pure water, the rice grains swell patiently, symbolizing the passage of time and respect for natural rhythms. This soaking is an act of cultivation, not just of ingredients, but of connection to the earth, seasons, and ancestors. Grinding the soaked rice into a fine, silky batter is a skilled process carried out with reverence. Traditionally done on stone mills or with manual grinders, it requires expertise to judge the right texture, smooth enough to cook tenderly but thick enough to hold its form. This tactile knowledge is passed down through generations by touch and sight, highlighting the craft's deeply sensory nature. While the rice rests, the filling is prepared, a carefully balanced mixture of minced pork belly, wood ear mushrooms, scallions, and delicate spices that create a contrast to the soft rice batter. Each ingredient is hand-selected for freshness and harmony, reflecting intimate knowledge of local produce and seasonality. Selecting the leaves, typically dong or banana leaves, is a sacred step, involving early morning harvests and careful washing, drying, and sometimes blanching to ensure flexibility and preserve aroma. These leaves are more than wrappers. They are natural gifts, imparting subtle fragrance and a green hue, binding the cake to the environment. The art of assembly is a tender dance of precision. The leaf is oiled to prevent sticking, batter spread thin, filling placed with care, and the cake wrapped into a neat parcel with folded ends, secured by natural ties. This wrapping is a skill learned patiently, representing protection, balance, and care, as multiple generations often gather teaching each other with tender hands and stories. Steaming the cakes is a sacred transformation where raw elements unite through gentle heat. Timing is crucial, guided by intuition and experience. The rice batter turning tender and cohesive, the leaves darkening and releasing their aroma. Steam fills the kitchen as anticipation grows, symbolizing renewal and sustenance. Once cooled, the finished cakes carry not just flavor, but centuries of lore and love. Their presence in the vibrant village market sustains economic resilience and nurtures cultural bonds. Markets become communal hubs where bon la is traded with smiles and stories, embedding the cakes in the social fabric. Women are at the heart of this tradition, as makers, teachers, and culture bearers, handing down the craft with care. The cakes unite families during festivals and daily gatherings, reinforcing identity, environmental respect, and communal solidarity. Using natural, biodegradable materials reflects sustainable living principles, honoring the land that sustains them. Economic necessity blends with cultural preservation as families rely on bon, la production for income, balancing authenticity with modern demands. The young learner in the story grows into a custodian of this legacy, wrapping cakes with confidence and understanding the profound cultural and familial significance behind each fold. Through fathers' enduring labor, mothers' nurturing patience, and grandmothers' guiding wisdom, bon la encapsulates a shared journey of sacrifice, love, and hope. The kitchen and market become stages where tradition and family life intertwine, making each cake a celebration of resilience, belonging, and heritage. Thus, bon la is more than food. It is a living narrative. It invites each generation to engage in the continuum of culture, memory, and creativity. These cakes, wrapped in fragrant leaves and stories, symbolize the enduring power of tradition to nourish body, heart, and community alike. The final part of the story weaves a rich tapestry around bon la, deeply rooted in Vietnamese cultural tradition, family heritage, community life, and the symbolic essence of this humble yet profound culinary art. The narrative extends over a richly detailed journey, capturing the ritual, labor, and love invested in each cake. Daybreak colors the village softly as families rise to honor a time-honored tradition. The kitchen becomes a sacred space where the ritual of bon la making unfolds not just as food preparation, but as a living ceremony of identity and continuity. Rice is harvested from local paddies with respect, its grains polished and chosen carefully for quality and texture. The soaking process is an exercise in patience, allowing the grains to swell slowly and soak up the essence of nourishing waters. This time is a metaphor for growth, transformation, and the natural rhythms respected by generations. Grinding the soaked rice connects the present to the past. Traditional stone mills or gentle grinders transform the swollen grains into fine powder, smooth and uniform. This batter reflects the touch and judgment of the maker, a sensory art requiring skill to balance softness with needed firmness. While the rice modifies itself into a batter, the filling preparation reflects culinary wisdom and balance. Pork belly, wood ear mushrooms, fresh herbs, spices, and seasoning are combined carefully to create a filling that complements the subtle delicacy of the rice. Each ingredient is selected with knowledge of seasonal availability and harmony, embodying an intimate dialogue with nature's cycles. The selection and preparation of leaves bind the food to the land. Leaves such as dong or banana are selected for their strength, aroma, and pliability. Harvested with care, washed meticulously, dried and sometimes blanched, these leaves are both practical tools and symbols of connection between earth and table. Their green hues and gentle fragrances infuse the cakes with a natural signature, reflecting the environment that nurtured them. The assembly is a dance of precision and patience. Oil is gently spread on the leaves, batter spread thinly, filling placed delicately at the center, and the cake folded carefully into neat parcels. Each fold is a gesture of love and craftsmanship. Children learning this art absorb lessons not only of cooking, but of cultural stewardship, respect for tradition, and the values of care and balance. Steaming transforms raw elements into harmonized delicacies. Timing the steaming perfectly is a silent ritual. Too brief and the cakes are raw, too long and they lose their tender character. Steam envelops the kitchen like a gentle cloak, carrying the scent of transformation and nourishment. Watching the cakes rise, makers are reminded of growth, renewal, and the enduring cycles of life. The market is alive with the vibrancy of community. Vendors display the perfectly wrapped ban la, fresh and aromatic. The cakes bring neighbors together, serving as tokens of tradition and friendship. Buying and eating ban la is an act of communal participation, a sharing of culture through taste and story. The women who prepare these cakes are culture bearers, passing down their legacy through shared knowledge and technique. Their hands preserve more than recipes. They sustain community spirit and familial bonds. Festivals and ordinary days alike are graced by the presence of ban la, making each occasion rich with heritage and togetherness. Ecological respect is woven through this craft. The use of natural wrappers and ingredients affirms a sustainable relationship with the environment. No waste, no artificial materials, just the purity of Earth's gifts carefully transformed into food that honors nature's balance. Economically, ban la production supports families and villages, a traditional craft meeting contemporary needs without sacrificing authenticity. It reflects resilience, adaptability, and pride in cultural identity. The evolving child in the story becomes more than a learner. They become a guardian of this heritage. Careful hands fold leaves, mindful eyes measure fillings, and patient hearts join generations in shared ritual. The food embodies their family's story, his life's lessons, his community's soul. The father's sacrifices and mother's nurturing love, the grandmother's wisdom and smiling encouragement, all blend into this narrative of resilience, identity, and hope. The ban la are edible legacies bearing witness to family love, communal harmony, and cultural endurance. In the end, ban la is more than food. It is a living poem of Vietnamese life. Its cares, joys, struggles, and celebrations wrapped lovingly in leaves and stories. It invites every generation to partake in the eternal dance of creating, sharing, and belonging. The quiet kitchen, the bustling market, the laughter and care, all converge in this humble cake that carries the heart of a people and the spirit of a land into the future.